I stood outside the glass towers of Vance Tech. After 6 brutal months in a medical facility in Germany, surviving an illness that nearly killed me, I was finally back, my heart racing with excitement. I couldn't wait to see Marcus Reed, my best friend and co-founder. We had built this company together from a messy garage into a multi-million-dollar technology giant. I stepped up to the main entrance and swiped my silver executive keycard against the scanner. Beep. Red light. I frowned and swiped it again. Beep. Red light. That's strange, I muttered to myself. The heavy glass doors slid open and a tall security guard stepped out. I recognized him immediately. Tom? I said, forcing a warm smile despite my fatigue. Good morning. It seems my card is malfunctioning. Can you buzz me in? Tom looked down at me, but his face remained cold and emotionless. He didn't smile back. I'm sorry, sir, Tom said flatly. You don't have access to this building. What are you talking about? I asked, a sudden chill creeping down my spine. Tom, it's me, Ethan Vance. I own this company. Not anymore, Mr. Vance, Tom replied smoothly. My orders come directly from the chief executive officer. You are not allowed on the property. Chief executive officer? My voice shook slightly. Where is Marcus? Call Marcus right now. There is no need to shout, Ethan, a smooth, familiar voice called out from inside the lobby. The automatic doors glided open wider and Marcus Reed walked out. He wore a tailored dark suit, his hands tucked casually into his pockets. But his warm smile was entirely gone, replaced by an arrogant smirk. Marcus. I stepped forward, relief washing over me for a fraction of a second. What is going on here? Why is security blocking me? Why is my keycard revoked? Marcus stopped a few feet away, looking down at me as if I were a stranger begging for spare change. Your card doesn't work because you don't work here, Ethan, Marcus said, his tone shockingly cold. In fact, you don't own a single share of this business. I stared at him, unable to process his words. What kind of sick joke is this? I spent the last 6 months in an overseas hospital fighting for my life. You were supposed to manage things while I was away. And I managed them perfectly, Marcus replied with a shrug. While you were lying in that hospital bed, the company needed strong leadership. Investors were panicking. So, I took full control. You couldn't take full control. I yelled, my fists clenching at my sides. I hold 51% of the voting stock. You can't just take my company. Marcus pulled a folded piece of paper from his inner jacket pocket and held it out toward me. Check the legal registry, Ethan. 3 months ago, you voluntarily signed over all your equity to me in exchange for covering your medical expenses. My eyes widened as I looked down at the document. There, at the bottom of the page, was my signature. But it was a complete fake. This is a forgery. I shouted, my voice echoing off the glass walls. I never signed this. I was in a coma 3 months ago. You forged my signature, Marcus. Marcus leaned in closer, his voice dropping to a harsh whisper so only I could hear. Prove it, Marcus whispered softly. You spent every dime of your personal savings on your medical treatments in Europe, didn't you? You don't have a single dollar left. Do you really think you can afford a high-priced lawyer to sue me? By the time a trial even starts, Vance Tech will be merged into my new empire. You betrayed me, I said, tears of anger hot behind my eyes. We were brothers. I trusted you with my life. Business isn't about brotherhood, Ethan. It's about power, Marcus said coldly. He pulled back and gestured to the security guard. Tom, escort Mr. Vance off my property. If he returns, call the police. Marcus, don't do this. I pleaded as Tom grabbed my arm firmly. You can't steal my life work. Goodbye, Ethan, Marcus said, turning his back on me. Enjoy your retirement. Tom pushed me roughly out toward the edge of the parking lot, past the company sign near the main road. I looked up at the large steel letters on the monument wall. My heart sank into my stomach. The name Vance Tech was gone. It had been replaced by big, gleaming silver letters. Reed Global. They had erased me completely. My name, my work, my legacy, stolen in a matter of months. I stood alone in the cold wind of the empty parking lot, my body trembling with rage and heartbreak. I looked at my reflection in the polished steel sign. I had no money, no job, and nowhere to go. I looked back at the top floor window where Marcus's office was located. You think you won, Marcus? I whispered to myself, my trembling hands tightening into firm fists. You think you broke me. But you only stole my company. You didn't steal my mind. I wiped a tear from my cheek and took a deep, steadying breath. I will rebuild, I swore aloud to the silent street. I will come back. And I will take back every single thing you stole from me. I turned the key and my late father's rusted 2005 sedan sputtered to life with a loud, metallic whine. It was the only asset I still owned. I drove back to my cramped, single-room apartment on the far edge of town. The walls were thin, the floorboards creaked, and the air smelled faintly of damp paint. I sat down at a small wooden desk, pulling up a blank screen on an old laptop. My savings were almost zero, but my mind was sharper than ever. Suddenly, my phone buzzed on the desk. An unknown number appeared on the screen. I answered hesitantly. "Hello? Ethan? Is that really you?" A gentle, urgent voice whispered through the receiver. I recognized it instantly. "Sarah? Sarah Jenkins?" "Thank goodness you answered," Sarah said, her voice trembling slightly. "I'm using a prepaid burner phone. If Marcus finds out I called you, he'll fire me on the spot." "Sarah, you don't have to risk your job for me," I said, leaning closer to the phone. "Marcus made his move. He took everything." "He didn't just take it, Ethan. He's destroying it," Sarah interrupted, her tone sharp with anger. "The entire office is in chaos. Ever since he ousted you, the engineering team has been lost. Marcus doesn't understand the core architecture of our primary software platform." "He never did," I admitted, rubbing my temples. "I wrote the base code. Marcus was always just the salesperson." "Well, his sales talk isn't saving him now," Sarah whispered rapidly. "He's burning through our remaining investor funds at an insane rate. He hired expensive consultants to patch the bugs, but they're making it worse. The platform is crashing every week, and the major clients are threatening to pull their contracts." A cold spark of hope ignited in my chest. "He stole a machine he doesn't know how to operate." "Exactly," Sarah said. "Ethan, the board is getting nervous. Marcus told everyone you abandoned the company and sold your shares to move to Europe. I knew it was a lie the moment he said it." "He forged my signature while I was in a coma, Sarah," I said, my teeth grinding together. "I have no money to hire a legal team to fight him in court. He knows that." "Then don't fight him in court," Sarah insisted. "Build something better. Outshine him." I looked down at my hands resting on the worn keyboard. I'm sitting in a tiny apartment with a lagging laptop and my dad's old sedan. I don't have the infrastructure or the server capacity to build a new platform from scratch. "You have the architecture in your head," Sarah pushed back fiercely. "And you have me. I still have executive access to the internal network. I can send you the performance reports, client complaint logs, and system crash diagnostics. You can see exactly where Marcus is failing. Sarah, if Marcus catches you leaking internal data, he will ruin your career," I warned her softly. "Marcus is a fraud, Ethan," Sarah replied without hesitation. "You built that company with your blood and sweat. You treated the staff with respect. Marcus treats us like disposable servants. I want to help you take back what's yours." I took a deep breath, feeling the heavy fog of depression lift from my mind for the first time in months. "Okay," I said, my voice hardening with dark determination. "Here's what we do. Do not send anything through company email servers. Use encrypted drives only. Meet me at the quiet diner near the train station tomorrow night." "I'll be there," Sarah promised. "What are you going to build?" "Apex Systems," I declared quietly. "I'm going to take the original framework I designed, strip away every flaw, and rewrite it into a completely new engine. An engine 5 times faster, infinitely safer, and completely immune to the bugs Marcus is struggling with. If you pull that off, every single client at Reed Global will jump ship to join you," Sarah said, awe creeping into her tone. "Marcus won't just lose money. His stolen empire will become obsolete overnight." "That's the plan," I said. "Let him play the billionaire CEO for now. Let him spend millions on flashy press events. While he poses for cameras, I'll be in the dark, writing the code that buries him." "I'll gather the crash reports tonight," Sarah said. "Stay safe, Ethan." "You too, Sarah." "Thank you." The line went dead. I set the phone down and stared at the dark window reflecting my face. For 6 months, I had felt helpless, locked inside a body that was failing me while my best friend robbed me blind. But now the helplessness was gone, replaced by a cold, surgical focus. I opened a fresh text document on my laptop screen and typed out the first line of code for Apex Systems. The room was dim, illuminated only by the harsh blue glare of the monitor. The hum of my old sedan cooling down in the parking lot below faded into the night. Hour after hour passed as my fingers flew across the keyboard. Every line of code was a weapon. Every algorithm was a step toward my return. Marcus had taken my past, but he couldn't touch my future. I was going to make sure of that. 18 agonizing months passed in a blur of endless night coding, secret meetings, and relentless execution. Apex Systems was no longer just an ambitious idea on a lagging laptop. It was a silent juggernaut ready to crush the market. I sat inside a high-end private office suite, watching Arthur Sterling swirl a glass of scotch across from me. He was a legendary billionaire investor, famous for backing tech disruptors and tearing down arrogant corporate frauds. "Your system benchmark results are staggering, Ethan," Arthur said, his sharp eyes locking onto mine. "You've built an engine that makes Reed Global's stolen platform look like ancient garbage." "Because Marcus only stole the shell, Mr. Sterling," I replied, sitting up straight. "He never possessed the intellectual capacity to build the underlying architecture." "I did." Arthur chuckled softly, setting his glass on the polished marble desk. "Which is precisely why I wired $50 million into your corporate account this morning. Apex Systems is fully funded. The market is yours for the taking." "Thank you, Arthur," I said, feeling a surge of genuine gratitude. "Your trust means everything to me." "Then show your face, young man," Arthur said, sliding a thick, gold-embossed envelope across the desk toward me. "The annual Metropolitan Charity Gala is tomorrow evening at the Grand Horizon Hotel. The entire business elite will be present. Marcus Reed is attending as a primary sponsor, boasting about his company's valuation." I stared down at the invitation. "Marcus will be there?" "Along with every major tech reporter and investor in the country," Arthur confirmed with a sharp grin. "It's time to step out of the shadows, Ethan. I want you there as my guest of honor." "I'll be there," I said without hesitation, taking the envelope. "It's time Marcus sees who he really crossed." An hour later, I met Sarah in a quiet coffee shop on the edge of town. I tossed the golden invitation onto the small table between us. She picked it up, her eyes widening in immediate alarm. "Ethan, are you serious?" Sarah whispered urgently, leaning over her coffee cup. "You can't go to this gala." "Why not?" I asked calmly, taking a sip of my dark roast. "Arthur Sterling personally invited me." "Because Marcus will humiliate you," Sarah warned, her forehead creasing with deep worry. "He believes you're broke, desperate, and completely defeated. He's going there with his new fiancée, Chloe Bennett. She's absolute royalty in high society, and she treats everyone beneath her like garbage." "Let them believe whatever they want, Sarah," I said smoothly. "Their arrogance is their greatest vulnerability." "Ethan, listen to me," Sarah insisted, her voice tight with stress. "Marcus has spent the last year bragging to the media that you ran away like a coward after bankrupting yourself. If you show up in your dad's old beat-up car wearing a cheap suit, Chloe and Marcus will turn you into a public laughingstock." "They can laugh all they want," I replied with a faint, cold smile. "I'm still driving my dad's sedan because I spent every dollar of Arthur's capital on scaling Apex's servers, hiring top talent, and securing international patents. I don't care about flashy appearances right now." "They do," Sarah argued, shaking her head. "In that world, appearance is power. They will walk all over you." "Let them walk directly into my trap," I countered, leaning forward so only she could hear me. "Arthur is staging a surprise announcement during the main dinner. Marcus thinks he's securing Sterling's $100 million fund for Reed Global tomorrow night. He has no idea that Arthur already gave me the check." Sarah paused, a slow, disbelieving smile gradually breaking across her face. "You're going to let him celebrate his fake victory right before you pull the rug out from under him." "Exactly," I said, my voice dripping with calm conviction. "I want Marcus at his absolute highest peak of arrogance when he discovers he has lost everything. I want him to look me in the eyes when his world shatters." "You're playing a dangerous game, Ethan," Sarah whispered, though her eyes sparkled with sudden excitement. "Chloe will be cruel to you the second you arrive at the entrance. The valet line alone is a high society runway." "I welcome her cruelty," I said softly, picking up the golden card. "The higher they stand on their pedestals, the harder they crash down onto the pavement." The next evening, the sun dipped below the city skyline as I drove toward the Grand Horizon Hotel. The engine of my dad's 2005 sedan rattled loudly, the rusty muffler producing a deep, metallic cough at every stoplight. Surrounding me on the highway were sleek foreign sports cars and black luxury limousines, all heading toward the bright lights of the Grand Hotel driveway. I smoothed down the lapels of my tailored black tuxedo. It was simple, sharp, and bought with my own hard-earned money. I gripped the worn leather steering wheel, my heart beating with steady, rhythmic power. 18 months of poverty, secret coding, and endless disgrace had all led to this single night. Marcus had stolen my legacy and tried to bury my name, but he had failed to realize one crucial detail: seeds grow in the dark. I pulled into the long, brightly lit driveway of the Grand Horizon Hotel. Flashbulbs went off in the distance as photographers snapped pictures of celebrities and tech titans exiting their million-dollar vehicles. I rolled up to the red carpet valet station, my car sputtering loudly into the pristine entrance. I took a deep breath, released the handbrake, and unlocked my door. It was time to face my past. My sedan gave one final metallic backfire and died right on the red carpet. A cloud of gray smoke drifted past the polished marble pillars of the hotel entrance. The valet attendants stared at me in total silence, completely paralyzed by shock. I opened the creaking door and stepped out onto the pristine red carpet. Immediate snickers erupted from the wealthy crowd waiting in the valet line. Flashbulbs went off as a few photographers turned their cameras toward my rusted car, eager to capture the bizarre sight. "Is this a joke?" a loud, sharp voice called out over the crowd. I turned to see Chloe Bennett walking toward me, her diamond necklace catching the bright lights. She was draped in an expensive silk evening gown, her arms linked tightly with Marcus Reed. Marcus wore an immaculate designer tuxedo, a glass of champagne in his hand and a cruel, triumphant smirk on his face. "Look at this, Marcus," Chloe laughed loudly, waving her manicured hand toward my dented hood. "Did someone order a fast food delivery to the grand charity gala?" The crowd around them burst into cruel, echoing laughter. "No, Chloe," Marcus said, stepping forward with an arrogant strut. "That is Ethan Vance, my former partner. The man who nearly drove our company into complete bankruptcy before I saved it." Chloe placed her hand over her chest in fake surprise. "Wait, this is the famous Ethan Vance? The disgraced tech founder? I thought he moved to Europe after losing everything." "He went to Europe to spend his last pennies on medical care," Marcus announced loudly to the gathering crowd of reporters and elites. "And it looks like he couldn't even afford a proper ride back to civilized society. What are you doing here, Ethan? Are you applying for a valet job?" I stood my ground, my posture straight and my face completely unreadable. "I am here for the gala, Marcus." "The gala?" Chloe shrieked with amusement. "Ethan, sweetie, tickets for this event cost $20,000 a seat. You can't even afford a basic oil change for this rolling pile of junk." "My car runs just fine, Chloe," I replied calmly, looking her straight in the eye. "It got me here." "Barely." Marcus sneered, taking a slow sip of his champagne. "Look at you, Ethan. Standing on my red carpet in a cheap tuxedo, driving a car worth $50. You lost your company, you lost your standing, and you lost your mind. Have you no self-respect left?" "Your red carpet?" I asked, raising a single eyebrow. "Last time I checked, you don't own the Grand Horizon Hotel, Marcus." "I own the night, Ethan," Marcus boasted, leaning in closer. "Tonight, Arthur Sterling is announcing his investment in Reed Global. I am about to secure $100 million in fresh capital. I am at the very top of the world while you are literally sweeping dirt off my shoes." From the edge of the crowd, I caught sight of Sarah standing near the entrance doors. Her face was pale with worry, but I gave her a subtle, reassuring nod. "Money doesn't buy class, Marcus," I said, my voice quiet, steady, and clear enough for the surrounding reporters to hear. "And stolen success never lasts." Chloe giggled mockingly, wrapping her arm tighter around Marcus's waist. "Oh, listen to the poor man preach. Is that what broke people say to make themselves feel better at night? You are a pathetic ghost, Ethan. You belong in a museum of failed businessmen." "Let him talk, babe," Marcus said, patting her hand dismissively. "It's the only voice he has left. But you need to move this garbage heap out of the driveway right now, Ethan. You're ruining the aesthetic for the actual VIPs." "I am waiting for the head valet," I said smoothly. "The head valet?" Marcus laughed, shaking his head in total disbelief. "Do you honestly think Leo is going to park this rusty death trap in the VIP lot? He's going to call a tow truck to haul it straight to the nearest scrap yard." "Let him do his job, Marcus," I said quietly. "We wouldn't want to spoil your big night before it even begins." "You couldn't spoil my night if you tried, Ethan," Marcus snapped, his eyes flashing with sudden irritation at my absolute composure. "You are nothing. You are a nobody standing in my shadow. Enjoy watching me conquer the industry from the cheap seats in the back." "We'll see who stays in the shadow, Marcus," I said, holding his gaze without flinching. "Come on, darling," Chloe scoffed, tugging on Marcus's arm. "Don't waste another second speaking to a beggar. He's just trying to leech off your publicity." "You're right," Marcus said, tossing his empty champagne glass onto a nearby tray held by a waiter. He looked back at me one last time, his eyes filled with supreme arrogance. "Good luck walking back home, Ethan. Because I doubt that car will ever start again." Marcus and Chloe turned on their heels, walking proudly down the red carpet toward the glowing glass doors of the grand ballroom. The crowd of wealthy onlookers followed behind them, whispering and casting lingering, pitiful glances in my direction. I stood completely alone next to my idling, smoking sedan. Flashbulbs snapped a few final pictures before the reporters rushed inside to cover Marcus's entrance. I slowly reached into my tuxedo pocket and felt the cool, smooth titanium card Arthur Sterling had given me earlier that afternoon. I smiled softly to myself as I adjusted my cufflinks. Marcus and Chloe thought they had just delivered the ultimate humiliation. They had no idea that the real show hadn't even started yet. I walked into the glittering ballroom of the Grand Horizon Hotel. Sparkling chandeliers hung high above the polished marble floor. Wealthy investors, corporate executives, and reporters filled the room, sipping vintage champagne. At the center of the room, Marcus stood near the stage holding court. He had a microphone in his hand, surrounded by eager journalists and board members. Chloe stood beside him, beaming with pride and holding a glass of wine. "Ladies and gentlemen," Marcus announced loudly into the microphone, his voice echoing through the massive speakers. "Tonight, Reed Global stands on the absolute brink of history. We are finalizing a monumental $100 million deal with the legend himself, Mr. Arthur Sterling." The crowd clapped enthusiastically. Marcus bowed slightly, soaking in the applause. He raised his hand to quiet the room and turned to Arthur, who stood near the foot of the stage in a sharp suit. "Arthur," Marcus said smoothly, stepping down to approach him, "let us toast to our new partnership. Together, Reed Global will dominate the market." Arthur did not lift his glass. He stood with his hands tucked into his jacket pockets, his face expressionless and cold. "I am afraid you are mistaken, Marcus," Arthur said, his voice quiet yet carrying easily across the silent room. Marcus paused, his confident grin faltering for a brief second. "Mistaken? Arthur, we discussed the funding terms yesterday. My team prepared the final contracts." "Your team prepared contracts for a platform that is crashing," Arthur replied deadpan. "I don't invest in sinking ships, Marcus. Nor do I invest in men who build their careers on stolen property." Gasps rippled through the gathered crowd. Reporters quickly lifted their cameras, sensing an unexpected storm. "Stolen property?" Chloe blurted out, her voice loud and defensive. "Arthur, that is absurd. Marcus built this company from scratch." "Marcus built nothing," Arthur declared coldly, turning his back on them to face the crowd. 18 months ago, Marcus Reed forged documents to steal Vance Tech from its true creator. But real genius cannot be stolen. Marcus's face flushed a deep, angry red. "Arthur, this is outrageous. Ethan Vance is a washed-up, penniless nobody. He drove here tonight in a rusted 20-year-old sedan. That rusty sedan belongs to a man who put every single penny into building the future," Arthur countered smoothly. "I have already placed my entire $100 million fund into the real leader of this industry." Arthur turned toward the back of the room and extended his arm directly at me. "Everyone meet the true founder of Apex Systems," Arthur announced. "Ethan Vance." Every head in the room spun toward me. Spotlights shifted across the ceiling, illuminating where I stood near the entrance. Reporters rushed over, flashbulbs exploding in a chaotic haze of white light. Marcus stared at me in total disbelief. "No, that's impossible. You're broke." Right on cue, Leo, the head valet, walked down the grand center aisle. He wore pristine white gloves and held a velvet-covered silver platter above his shoulders. The room fell into dead silence as Leo stepped up to the main stage and stopped right beside me. Leo rested the silver platter on a small table and picked up a microphone. "Pardon the interruption, Mr. Sterling," Leo announced clearly to the crowd. "Mr. Vance's vehicle has arrived at the VIP front entrance." Leo lifted a velvet cloth, revealing a custom titanium keycard sitting on a sleek carbon fiber display. "The custom $3 million Bugatti Chiron you ordered has just been delivered by factory transport, Mr. Vance," Leo said smoothly. "The keys are yours." Chloe's jaw dropped wide open in complete shock. Her wine glass slipped from her fingers and shattered onto the marble floor, splashing red wine across her expensive gown. She didn't even notice. She stared at the titanium keycard, her eyes practically bulging out of her head. Marcus looked like he had been struck by lightning. The color completely drained from his face, leaving him deathly pale. His hands began to shake as he looked from the keycard to me and then to Arthur. "A Bugatti?" Marcus stammered, his voice cracked and weak. $3 million? It seems my old sedan was just a temporary ride, Marcus, I said, stepping forward onto the stage. I picked up the heavy titanium keycard from the silver platter and held it up in the bright light. You thought you broke me when you stole my company, I continued, my voice echoing through the quiet ballroom. You thought leaving me penniless would keep me down forever. But you forgot one simple truth. I leaned in closer to Marcus, looking straight into his wide, terrified eyes. You stole my title, Marcus. But you could never steal my mind. The entire room erupted into a thunderous storm of murmurs and camera flashes. Marcus took a trembling step backward, clutching the microphone so tightly his knuckles turned white. He tried to speak, to offer some kind of excuse, but no words came out. The powerful CEO who had mocked me on the red carpet just 30 minutes ago was gone. In his place stood a ruined man who finally realized his fake empire was coming down around him. I adjusted my tuxedo jacket, turned my back on Marcus and Chloe, and began walking toward the grand entrance. It was time to step outside and take the wheel of my new life. I pushed open the heavy glass doors and stepped out into the crisp night air. Flashbulbs went off like erratic bolts of lightning as dozens of reporters rushed down the marble stairs behind me. Right in front of the illuminated fountain, resting quietly under the bright valet lights, sat my custom Bugatti Chiron. Its sleek carbon fiber body gleamed, a stunning contrast to the rusted sedan I had arrived in just an hour ago. Ethan. Wait. Please, Ethan, wait, a desperate voice screamed from behind. I turned around slowly, tapping the titanium keycard against my palm. Marcus came stumbling down the red carpet, his luxury suit disheveled, his tie pulled loose at his collar. Sweat glistened on his forehead despite the cool evening breeze. Chloe scrambled after him on her high heels, her ruined gown trailing behind her, all her previous arrogance entirely washed away. Ethan, please? Marcus gasped, running up to me with his hands raised in surrender. We need to talk privately. Just 2 minutes. That's all I ask. We have nothing left to talk about, Marcus, I said calmly, looking down at him. Your night is over. It doesn't have to be like this. Marcus begged, his voice cracking with sheer desperation. Look, I know I made mistakes. I got greedy. But Reed Global still has massive infrastructure. Buy us out, Ethan. Acquire Reed Global under Apex Systems. I'll give you 80% of the company right now. Just save us from ruin. A buyout? I asked, raising an eyebrow as reporters shoved their microphones closer to catch every word. Why would I purchase a hollow shell filled with broken code and pending lawsuits? Because we were partners. Marcus shouted, his eyes wide with terror. We started in a garage together, Ethan. You can't just let me burn. You didn't care about our garage when you forged my signature on share transfer papers while I was in a hospital bed, I countered, my voice icy and unyielding. You threw me into the dirt and stole my life work. You burned that bridge yourself. Chloe pushed her way through the reporters, her hands shaking as she tried to reach for my arm. Ethan, please listen to him. Chloe cried out, her tone dripping with pathetic desperation. I was wrong about you. I had no idea Marcus lied about everything. He told me you abandoned the business. I was completely deceived by him. Don't lie, Chloe, I said smoothly, stepping back so her hand missed my jacket entirely. You enjoyed mocking my father's car on this very red carpet. You loved trying to make me feel small. You didn't care about the truth until you saw who actually held the keys. Ethan, I'm sorry. Chloe pleaded, tears running down her cheeks. I'll do anything. Just tell the press this was all a misunderstanding. It wasn't a misunderstanding, I replied coldly. It was justice. Sarah walked up beside me, holding a secure tablet in her hands. She tapped the screen and looked up at Marcus with a sharp, victorious smile. It's over, Marcus, Sarah announced loudly for all the media cameras to record. The board of directors just held an emergency vote inside the ballroom. Because of the fraudulent signatures and total system failures, they have officially stripped you of your CEO title, effective immediately. Marcus froze, stumbling backward as if he had been physically struck. They fired me? That's not all, Sarah added, leaning closer. Federal auditors and investigators were tipped off an hour ago. They've already locked down Reed Global's headquarters to seize the accounting servers. They know about the forged stock transfers. No. Marcus shrieked, clutching his head in absolute panic. My money. My reputation. Everything I built. You didn't build anything, Marcus, I said softly, stepping closer to him so only he could hear my final words to him. You built a house of cards on a foundation of lies. Tonight, the wind finally blew it down. "Ethan, don't leave me like this." Marcus dropped to his knees right on the cold pavement, begging in front of every news outlet in the city. "I'll give you everything. Just don't destroy me." "You destroyed yourself the moment you chose greed over loyalty," I said. I turned away from his kneeling figure and tapped the titanium keycard against the Bugatti's driver's side handle. The door glided open smoothly, revealing the pristine interior. I sat down in the low leather driver's seat and pulled the door shut, instantly sealing out the loud shouting of the media and Marcus's desperate cries. I pressed the start button. The quad-turbo engine roared to life with a deep, thunderous rumble that shook the pavement beneath the hotel driveway. I glanced in the side mirror one last time. Marcus was on his knees, surrounded by blinding camera flashes, holding his head in his hands while Chloe walked away from him in tears. The man who had stolen my company and tried to erase my existence was now utterly undone, left with nothing but public disgrace and incoming criminal charges. I shifted the car into drive and pressed lightly on the accelerator. The Bugatti surged forward with effortless power, shooting down the long driveway and gliding smoothly out onto the open city highway. The bright neon lights of the Grand Horizon Hotel faded quickly in my rearview mirror, dissolving into the dark night sky. I took a deep, clear breath, feeling the heavy burden of the past 18 months lift off my chest completely. The long nights in the dark apartment, the pain of betrayal, and the humiliating struggles were all finally behind me. I looked straight ahead at the open road stretching out into the bright horizon. My company was returning to my hands, my reputation was completely restored, and my future was entirely mine to control. I pressed down on the gas pedal, smiling as the engine roared into the night.